You're listening to Eat, Theatre, Sleep, Repeat, Blackpool Grand Theatre's podcast. Your fun-filled look behind the curtain. Get ready for incredible stories, backstage gossip, community highlights, and plenty of star power. Let's dive in.
Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about Pick Up Boy, which is coming to Blackpool Grand the 14th to the 17th of May from the Unicorn Theatre, and it's adaptation of Malorie Blackman's Pick Up Boy. I'm here with Glen, so Glen, if you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Glen Mascord. I used to be the education advisor and various other things within Blackpool, and a teacher, and an avid theatre goer and reader. So I'm really pleased to be here with...
I'm Millie. I am the Creative Learning and Development Coordinator at Blackpool Grand Theatre. So just recently watched Pick Up Boy in London at the Unicorn Theatre, and we've also read the book, and Celine and Ruth were in charge of making the resources for Pick Up Boy. So we're quite well versed on this one. So Glen's just going to talk to us a little bit more about why we think it's important that you come and see Pick Up Boy, and if you're a teacher, why it might be important to bring a school.
Okay, I mean, there are so many good reasons to be reading the book and using it with Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3 classes, I would suggest. And you've also got, within the notes that you've been sent by Celine and Joe, you will see an awful lot of things that you can do right the way across the curriculum and how it ties in with things. We're doing also a sort of a personal perspective on that. And one of the first things I would say is that it's possible that Noughts and Crosses is already on your reading lists, or at least is one of those books that are being recommended. Malorie Blackman, very, very famous, OBE. Noughts and Crosses clearly looking at race and ethnicity and prejudice and conflict. Pick Up Boy, utterly different. It's nice, I think, to have on your reading list and in the classroom itself a nice diversity of reading. And what I think Pick Up Boy can offer you is a book written by a black woman with a black boy as a central character, and it never touches on issues of racial prejudice and colour. That is just a taken for, it's just there. He just happens to be a black boy at the centre of it.
And a full black cast as well for the show. Yeah.
You're backstage with Eat, Theatre, Sleep, Repeat. Make sure you hit follow.
But the issues within there are about the boy, Cameron, who is the leading character, and has a serious problem with his heart. And he is considered a weed by the school bully. He finds it hard to go swimming, which is a big thing for him, and water and swimming are central motifs throughout the whole book. And he is offered the chance of a heart transplant, but there are no human hearts available, and he has to make the choice with his mum and dad as to whether or not he accepts the heart of a pig. That in itself, I think, raises all sorts of interesting issues to start with, some of which are dealt with in the novel, possibly less clearly so in the play.
Yeah, I think in the book there's some really important themes, and they do keep them in the play. I would say that they're slightly stripped back in how intense they come across. Certain topics such as there's grief in there, there's animal rights in there, and I do think that the play does a brilliant way of touching upon them, but maybe stripping it back slightly so it is more suitable for a Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3 audience. Really enjoyable to watch, but really powerful when it needs to be, and really gets the point across as well.
And I think that's great, and certainly That's an interesting notion about the sorts of ways in which you can use the play differently to the way you use the novel, or at least the way you can compare the different treatments.
Yeah.
Using Pick-Up-Boy as a class novel gives you the opportunities to really explore some of those issues. And those dilemmas that are there. You mentioned animal rights. That certainly figures highly. So, yes, it's great. You've got a pig's heart, but how has the pig been treated? What do people generally, audiences think generally about that whole notion of using animals in order to save human beings? Clearly, it then overlaps with all sorts of issues around vivisection, around veganism, and the way we use animals for food, the way we use them for labour, and all sorts of other things. So that whole relationship between ourselves and animals does figure there, I think.
And I think it does it in a great way, in which it doesn't give you the answer, does it? It doesn't tell you this is right and this is wrong. It's really good. The book and the play actually are both really good at giving you both sides of the story and letting you make a decision. And it's hard even as an adult to decide what you think the best way was, or the best answer is. I mean, myself, I am vegan, and I don't watch it from a perspective of, oh, well, that's awful that he's taken that pig's heart. It's really conflicting, and I think it's really important that people ask those questions.
And it leads on to all sorts of other questions, I think, there as well. I think there's the clear decision that Cameron ultimately made, and it is, again, there are questions about, should it be his decision, the doctor's decision, his mum and dad's decision, and then how about other people all around him? How are they going to perceive it? How might you perceive it if you were sort of given that option yourself? You have got to have this, put yourself in Cameron's situation.
Yeah.
He says at one point, I want to live. And he makes that decision, I want to live, and therefore Trudy, which is the name of the pig, and he does go and visit the pig, Trudy has to die in order for him to live. How do we find this, this moral issue?
Yeah.
Is there a moral issue there?
And we look at it not only from Cameron's perspective,
absolutely,
not only the pig's perspective, but his mum and dad, his best friend, the doctor that's doing the surgery. So you've got so many different opinions. A
prospective girlfriend.
Yes, animal rights activists.
Absolutely. So many. And again, so many opportunities there to say, well, actually, let's now rewrite this section, or let's now act this section from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Or let's write the speech of his friend, of his parents, how they explain their feelings, or let's do some sort of visual representations of that. And can you take on different roles yourself? And there's all sorts of opportunities for drama work within the class linked to this.
Yeah.
You're tuned into Eat, Theatre, Sleep, Repeat.
Now, allied to that, I think a really significant issue that is still relevant today was, this was written in 1997. So that is before mobile phones were really a common thing, certainly before everyone in the class would have had one.
Yeah.
Also, therefore, before social media and all those issues that have arisen around social media and trolling and all of that sort of issues there. However, even if there wasn't social media, there were still newspapers and the press who were, just as they are now, very, very happy to leap onto any sort of issue, to make stuff up, to be intrusive, to swarm around people and make their lives a misery. And then allied to that, you've also got highly opinionated people who feel that they need to make their views of you public to your face. So trolling is there. And we have that sort of that issue there about how do we respond to the points made by those people who say this is wrong to do this, you shouldn't even be thinking of it, you are a murderer because you've had this animal killed in order for you to live.
Yeah.
where's your justification? So there is all that sort of stuff as well.
And it feels really adaptable as well. The play feels really for a modern audience, just like the book does, really. When you're reading it, you don't think you're reading it before mobile phones or anything like that, because it's so adaptable to whenever you're reading it.
And the only thing would be that, you would notice that they actually have, they can unplug the phone from the hallway. So, I remember those sorts of days. We also then have loads of stuff we can do around the character of Cameron, about how his feelings change. We have the structure of the book in itself is quite interesting, because I think it sort of starts, they've got different sections: cause, effect, consequences. And that's interesting. So what is the cause of Cameron's dilemma and his decisions and his choices? What are the effects of that? And then ultimately, what are the consequences? Because his emotions change, and arguably after he's had the heart transplant, there is a change in him, not least because of the pressure on him and the responses that he sees all around him. So without giving too much stuff away as well, you also have to ask that sort of question about what if the heart is rejected? It's an incredibly dangerous thing to do, to actually do that. He describes at one point, he's asked by his form tutor, I don't want to give too much away, to describe what the operation, to describe what he's going through, and much to the horror of his form tutor, he actually starts to describe what needs to be done in order for doctors to get at his heart, to take it out and put another one in. Horrendous, but it shows you, I think, a great deal about the courage, as well as about, medical procedures and what's actually going on. And he also has to balance that sort of big questions like quality of life versus quantity of life. If he has the heart transplant, will he just be jumping up and down and bouncing around, or will he have to have medication and hospital appointments for the rest of his life? And he's a young boy, so that's a lot to face up to. Quality of life versus quantity, using animals in experiments, who chooses, who makes decisions, what sorts of decisions are justifiable and what are not, the social media, the outrage that these sorts of things can confirm, friendship, what does friendship involve, what can you expect of your friends, what about forgiveness? There's reference as well to the notion of identity. Who are you? If you've got a pig's heart, and we talk about, the heart of people, their essential cells and things like that, where does your identity reside? Are you part pig? He does make jokes about being a guinea pig and all sorts of things like that. And you have to look at that. And then clearly all those other decisions that you might want to think, how might I stage this? How might I stage it differently? What decisions would I need to make? And you've got so many potential opportunities for writing, for oral work, and for engaging in other subject areas as well. And lots of point of view pieces, discursive writing, persuasive writing, lots of research around animals and their use. How else do we use animals? And what alternatives might there be?
Thank you. So I hope that has been interesting to listen to and some thought. So just a reminder that Pick Up Boy is coming to Blackpool Grand Theatre between the 14th and the 17th of May. So if you do want to book tickets, get in touch with Blackpool Grand Theatre box office or have a look on our website and we will help you. Thanks everybody for listening.
That's a wrap on Eat, Theatre, Sleep, Repeat. Thanks for joining us at Blackpool Grand Theatre. And don't forget to like, most definitely follow, and join us again. Until next time, stay fabulous.